Okay. All right, well, why don't I go ahead and I'm going to share my screen. And I'll go through a little bit of this, and then we'll get some practice in. Okay, let's see. Let's begin at the beginning. Okay, so here we are at sleep, week 2. And last week we went through sort of how sleep works and doesn't work, learned a little bit about the sleep-wake homeostasis and circadian rhythm. And I sent this out, the sleep log, to all of you. I really do encourage you guys to either this or with one of those apps or whatever it is, I do encourage you to start keeping track of your sleep. Excuse me. It's my little... Okay. And so here we are, a little bit about sleep disorders. Excuse my little puppy in the background. She's not a Corona puppy. I had her beforehand, but she always seems to want to make herself known right during this class. Madison. Okay, great. So here's just the basics. So we have insomnia, from the Latin in, meaning no, and somnus, meaning sleep. Insomnia is difficulty either falling or staying asleep. Hey. So a couple different types of insomnia. We have sleep onset insomnia, which is difficulty falling asleep. Sleep maintenance insomnia, which is difficulty staying asleep. Acute insomnia, which lasts just a few days or few weeks, related to a stressful event or change in circumstances. One thing, I think it was Frank who was mentioning earlier, said, it's lasted a couple of months, but I would still include that in acute insomnia, because it's brought on because of a specific event. It's not like it's something you've lived with for a lifetime. Chronic insomnia lasts for, they say, a month or more, but we're in unusual times here. Narcolepsy is, which, we've all heard about and people make fun of. It's chronic neurological disorder characterized by daytime drowsiness and sudden attacks of sleep. So in all of the time that I've been teaching these sleep workshops, I've actually just met one person who was narcoleptic and felt like very, very seriously so. Narcolepsy is one of the few things we will not be addressing in this class, because it's just such an opposite set of practices and needs. So if you think that is you or anyone you know, please tell them to go see a physician. They really do have medications for this and quite a bit to help these days. So make sure that you guys take care of that. So bruxism, or TMJ, is the grinding of the teeth. And I think about half of you raised your hand to say that this is something that you experienced while sleeping. Has become, especially, as I mentioned, common during COVID. So we'll be, doing the jaw massage for that. Very common. Sleep paralysis. So this is something that's also very common. So it happens when you're either while you are falling asleep or that moment while you're waking up. It's this inability to move your body. And it's for the people who experience it, it's quite scary. So if that is you, or if anyone you know has ever talked about it, There's nothing wrong with you. It's actually a very common condition. It's just incredibly scary for the person who's experiencing it because they're like, oh, I can't move. But sure enough, once you continue to wake up or continue to fall asleep, yes, you do move. And of course, it's not life-threatening because you aren't completely paralyzed. If you were completely paralyzed, you wouldn't be breathing. And breathing does still occur during this. So my just kind of, again, not as a doctor, but my recommendation, if this is happening to you or anyone that you know, when you experience the paralysis and you have a moment of fear, right away remind yourself, oh, hey, I'm still breathing. And then just focus on your breath. Just focus on that movement of the breath and allow the breath to just do its natural thing. And very often that has always, for the people that experience it, it seems to be enough to at least help them move in the right direction. Hypnic or myoclonic jerk, which is, this is actually also quite common, the sudden twitch or jerk while falling asleep that causes the body to move suddenly, often waking it up. So you can feel like you're in, like, stage one of sleep, and you're sort of heading into stage two, and you're all kind of like relaxing, and all of a sudden your body just go boom like this, and it can be like, whoa, it can really freak you out, like zip you back up into complete wakefulness. Again, can also feel scary or weird. You can also feel like, oh my God, something's wrong with me. I start to fall asleep and I just jerk awake. This happens to me once in a while, and I have noticed it happens to me when I'm not practicing yoga. So when there is tension left in my body and it kind of like jerks and flails around to get out. So when I'm doing like consistent stretching, when I'm getting more exercise, I find that doesn't happen as much. Subtle plug for you all to find yourself some sort of stretching or yoga routine. Restless leg syndrome, periodic limb movement disorder. So this, again, very, very common. People start to fall asleep, and it's almost like rapid eye movement. Like you go into a deep sleep and all of a sudden your body's like moving around, you're like, what, it seems so weird, and it can be really disturbing if you are sleeping in a bed with someone. Again, mostly a stress disorder. However, sometimes it's also just as memories are being sorted from the day, we experience our memories physically. So it can often be just, as all of that is happening, the body's just sort of reacting to it. So if it's possible, to be aware of it, but don't stress yourself out too much. And then, as I mentioned, sleep apnea. So sleep apnea is a very serious condition where essentially as you're sleeping, the throat muscles intermittently sort of relax and block the airway during a sleep. It's like a snore, but then have you ever noticed, like, when somebody's snoring so much they like actually stop breathing, and then like a minute or sometimes even 2 minutes later they're like this type of thing, and you're like, whoa, what is going on? Now, a little of that is no big deal, and we can sort of laugh it off and make fun of it. But if it gets serious where the breath actually stops throughout the night, that's stopping the oxygen flow to the brain, and actually can be quite serious, and can be an indication that you have it if you, many of you raised your hand when I said, how many of you sleep 8 hours but wake up and you don't feel rested? Like, you can sleep enough but still feel like, oh my God, I need to go back to sleep, or I just feel heavy, I just feel exhausted, I just feel depleted. It really is an indication that you might not be breathing properly during your sleep. And again, that's not something that I can help you with in this class. I would suggest going to a sleep clinic. And basically, there is a contraption that you put onto your nose and mouth, and it actually helps to give you oxygen throughout the night, which seems a little bit extreme and seems awkward and unattractive. But I have many friends that do this. And I have one friend who was actually extremely overweight his whole life. And no matter what he did, no matter what food he ate or movement or whatever, he couldn't get He just couldn't get a handle on his own health. He couldn't get in front of it. And somebody suggested this to him. He went and got one of these breathing contraptions. He started breathing well. Oh my God, all of a sudden he lost the weight. He's like eating better. His blood sugar went down. It was like it all was a lot of momentum. If we're not breathing, then nothing is going to work in our lives. So this is very, very important. If you have any more questions about that, please feel free to email me directly. Okay. All right. So hopefully I'll keep this to, I'm going to try to keep this just to 5 minutes because there's a lot to say here. So sleep hygiene is an issue that seems to be the big, in the media, when people are talking about sleep, they like to talk about sleep hygiene the most, do's and don'ts for your sort of external circumstances. And I do think that sleep hygiene is extremely important. However, I do want to also say it's also not the only thing. I had trouble sleeping before I ever ate sugar or caffeine, when I was exercising plenty, and before computers were even invented. I had trouble sleeping when I was a kid. So there can be plenty of reasons why sleep might be a problem, even if you're doing all these things. And by the way, it was before I was old enough to be stressed out about anything. You know what I mean? Before. So just to say that, yes, these are important, but we talked about keeping the sleep log, and for you determining what your own individual sleep challenge was, so that you could make an action plan of what steps you're going to take to fix it and leave with a sleep strategy. As I mentioned, if your issue with sleep is something different, why bother doing all of these to-dos with the sleep hygiene and making yourself do the sleep hygiene to-do list, which could actually stress you out more? Some people don't need to do any of these things. They fix their breathing, they give themselves a jaw massage, boom, they feel better immediately. So I just want to put that out there because the media really highlights sleep hygiene. Additionally, most of what we're going to, is here is stuff that you can find on Google, on the, different sleep websites, etc. And most of what I like to do in our class together is cover material that I believe you cannot get elsewhere. So, I'll just dive in. Stimulants. Caffeine, it has a half-life of up to 7 hours. So even if you have a cup of coffee at 4 o'clock, it really could, even longer. Some people really be affecting your sleep much longer. Some people are delayed responders to caffeine. They could drink a cup of coffee and it doesn't even kick in until 3 hours, 5 hours. So I encourage you to, if you have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, definitely cut out the caffeine and see if it helps. If it doesn't help, well, then go back on drinking it. Sugar, again, some people find that eating sugar can give them a high, and then the crash actually helps them sleep. In general, I would say pretty much best to avoid it if possible. Even though we all think of alcohol as a relaxant, as something as, sort of a depressant, once alcohol has been in your system for some time, that alcohol does turn to sugar, as we know. So for those of you who might have a glass of wine at night and then you find yourself awake between 2 and 5 in the morning, like all of a sudden awake, it could just be that glass of wine, that's how long it took for that glass of wine to turn to sugar, and it woke you up. So again, track with your sleep log. Take 1 week where you don't have any wine at all. See if you wake up, if you don't wake up during those hours, and then make a determination of whether that might actually be helpful to you. Number 2 is exercise, and I cannot emphasize it enough. Again, it was just sort of talking about the animal kingdom. There's no animal in the world that wouldn't be kind of moving around. Maybe a sloth doesn't move very much, but lucky sloths sleep like most of the day. They're my idols. I want to be a sloth in my next life. But animals exercise, they move around, they bounce around, and you can tell at the end of the day, like my little puppy here, okay, I didn't take her on enough walks, so now she's barking and jumping around all over the house because she didn't get enough exercise. She knows that she needs to expend more energy, she needs to expend more calories before she's going to be able to healthfully wind down, and we are just the same. So it's just calories in, calories out. If we're sitting around all day, what makes us think that we should be able to fall asleep? Sitting around isn't natural. Yes, falling asleep is natural, but sitting still all day is not natural. We were bred to be hunters gatherers, and this is one of the really important parts of sleep. A lot of people say to avoid really rigorous exercise in the late evening because it can kind of trigger your body to wake up. I haven't found that personally. And then also just want to highlight, in addition to exercise, to really do try some sort of stretching or yoga or something that gets tension out. So I always like to do some hiking or a little jogging or cycling or something to get exercise. But to me, that sort of brings strength to my body. And I'll still feel kind of like tight and energized. If I don't stretch and breathe and sort of move the tension out of my body, I will, as I mentioned, I'll be waking up in the middle of the night and squiggling around. So even for those of you who don't want to like start a big crazy exercise regime, I encourage you just do stuff at your desk. It will really make a big difference. The third one is napping. Again, very hotly debated topic in the sleep world. I believe in sleep as a learned behavior, sleep as a mental pattern, and our brain, as we know, likes to repeat patterns. So for me, napping, if I've had trouble sleeping for a few nights, napping actually helps me sleep. It reminds my brain how to sleep, and then I actually can get back into a groove. I really like it. It's also an incredible relief if I haven't slept well for a few nights. Taking a nap, I can get some relief, get some work done, and etc. So I really love it. However, basically the agreed upon science is that if you're napping for more than half an hour in the afternoon, like if your naps get really long, and then you have trouble falling asleep, cut the nap down in duration or something like that. Just if you feel like if it's creating a challenge with your sleep, then to dial it down. So natural light is one of the most important things that we can do for our sleep, and I mentioned this before. When it comes to the circadian rhythm and the creation of melatonin, that happens through sunlight. If you don't have access to natural sunlight, you can, for $25 on Amazon, get one of these. It's like a little light that sort of mimics what the sun does for you. I encourage you to get it and get in front of it first thing when you wake up. So when I wake up, I do my best to get, either directly in the sun or near the sun or something, so that starts to trigger the melatonin, building up in my brain, so that kind of sets me up for the next day. So that's a very important part. Now, of course, I've got my mom's voice in my ear, like, don't be in the direct sun and you need to put on sunscreen. And, she kind of gives me this whole routine. So just kind of balance that out to the best of your ability. Most of us are aware, contrarily to sunlight, the blue lights that are emitted through phones and, computer, etc. Those are lights that we should not, that we should try to diminish. So there are filters you can get to download on your devices. You can just kind of dial the brightness down at the end of the night. Or better yet, heaven forbid, actually just put the device away at the end of the night, because those sort of trigger a wakefulness which you don't want them to be waking. So you want to allow the brain to sort of dial itself down. When it comes to food, some people, sometimes I like to have like a little snack as I'm falling, like as I'm getting into bed, and it sort of helps me wind down. But I do find that eating a big meal at the in the evening, it disrupts my sleep. So I usually have a really big lunch, and just a light dinner. But I encourage you to keep your sleep log and start to discover for you what foods you like, what foods you don't like. Also, just want to mention hydration here in our food category. I'm a huge hydrator. I drink like 3 of these big things a day. Um, However, I do try to stop my intake of liquid at around 7:30 at the latest. And I found that really helps me not need to get up and use the restroom at night. And therefore, I can sleep much better throughout the day. So, again, that may sound like a bummer to you. Like, I have some friends who are like, oh, but I really love like a hot cup of tea at night with my book. And I do too. Now, if you don't have any problems getting up at night and using the restroom, if that doesn't bug you, then no big deal. But they were complaining to me that they wake up at night, need to use the restroom, they can't get back to sleep. I'm like, okay, well, which is more important, that or your cup of tea? So again, not everybody needs to cut out their cup of tea at night. If you're not having problems waking, then don't worry about it. So it's only whichever parts of the sleep hygiene are going to actually fix your issue. If you have trouble falling asleep, not staying asleep, then a hydration issue is not something you need to worry about. So this is all something you need to be listening to and making some choices about, because you certainly don't want to have to do all of these things, or it'd be a bummer. To the best of your ability, to try to make your sleeping area a little bit of a sanctuary. Now, again, during quarantine, it feels like all bets are just off with this, right? Like people are just working in the bedroom, and they're taking their. It's been much more difficult, everything at home, to kind of keep your bed and your bedroom a sanctuary. But the part of it is, if you associate work with your bedroom, when you get onto your bed, you'll start thinking about work. It's like a Pavlovian response. So, the idea is that if you try to keep that little area as a safe space, it's a little sanctuary. When you get onto the bed, your brain goes, oh, this is my safe space. This is time to relax. So best you can do. That's if you can. And then the last one is to create a bedtime ritual, whether it's dimming the lights down, putting on some nice scent, getting into pajamas, or the way you brush your teeth and do your jaw massage, or whatever you sort of do to kind of set yourself up. When you start to get ready for bed, see if as you do that nighttime ritual, you can simultaneously be making even that a calming experience. Like, I've met people who, even while they're setting up their bedtime ritual, they're still stressed out. They're kind of running like, and then this person said this to me, and oh, I should have done that. And oh my God, I did it. They're still like tripping out on all of their stuff. So the bedtime ritual isn't actually winding them down. So whatever it is you're doing to get ready for bed, start to take some deep breaths, start to be like, you know what, I'm just going to let that go, and start to just leave the day behind as you do your ritual. And I think that, oh, here we go. Okay. So last thing, So, okay, this is perfect. So this is going to be your homework for the week. And again, homework, if you're up for it, will be the sleep log and this. So this is a little bit of a writing practice that I'm going to encourage you guys to just do a little self-reflection on, for a few reasons. As I mentioned, there are some people where there has been an event or some sort of trauma or something happened that made you start to have trouble sleeping. And you've tried everything. Oh, I turn my lights down. Oh, my things are blacked out. Oh, I sleep with earplugs. It's quiet, or, all of this stuff. and none of it works, it may be that, if you had some traumatic event, you're in a car accident or something like that, you're reliving the car accident. It doesn't matter what sleep, hygiene, how peaceful you make your bedroom. When you start to fall asleep, if you start to remember that car accident, until you have that handled, none of these sleep hygiene things are going to do anything for you. So what's important in developing a sleep strategy is for you to determine if that's the case. Oh, I started having trouble sleeping after I got into that car accident. No matter what I do, it's still not working. So maybe I need to go seek some therapy. I need to go do some practices, whatever it is. For you, you might need to go and move that through, and you'll only find some peace once that happens. So that's going to be very important for you. Otherwise, you could spend the next 20 years trying to fix your sleep hygiene, and it doesn't do anything for you. However, some of you, that might not be the case. So it's important to do a little bit of reflection. When did I have trouble sleeping? How did it start? How long have I been? What do I really think is going on here? So you can kind of get to the bottom of it. I think it's also worth spending some time. I hate to say this, but almost like what they would do at an AA meeting, like taking a moment to reflect on the impact that the challenge of having issues with sleep, the impact that that's had on our lives. How's that affected our friendships? How's that affected our work? How's it affected schoolwork? How does that affect our just ability to thrive during life? My sleep's been in a good groove for quite some time, but the other night, I had a really bad night. I slept maybe 2 hours. And the next day, I was such a wreck. And I snapped at some friends I had to apologize for. I missed a Zoom meeting I was supposed to be on. I was just a mess. And it's important for us to get, that doesn't mean I'm not a bad person. I'm not lazy or mean. I just hadn't slept well. And so it's important to take a moment to really reflect on the impact that the sleep can really have on our lives, to forgive ourselves for that, and then to be able to take some action steps to let our family and friends know what's going on, to let people know at work, hey, I need to reschedule this or whatever, and to manage expectations. So I do encourage you to spend some time on this, and hopefully it will leave you with a little bit of self-compassion and understanding. Let's see here. Hang on one second. Let me make sure my notifications are off. Great. So that will be your homework. Okay. Before we jump into our practice for tonight, does anyone have any thoughts or questions on this? I know I just threw a lot of info at you. Yeah, Julia.
On the last sheet, there was this to enjoy your wakeful hours more. Do you mean when you wake up in the middle of the night or during the day?
Boy, oh boy, only a fellow insomniac would even know to ask a question like that. So I'm feeling like a kinship with you. I feel like I just met a sister. I'm going to say both, but I also mean like I'm working on some like a bigger body of work on practices for sleep, and one of the chapters will be all like how to thrive on nights when you didn't sleep well. So things that'll kind of energize you and wake you up in a healthy way. Again, how to thrive during wakeful hours when you didn't sleep, like letting people know where you're at so that they don't get upset with you if you're short, things, just ways where you can thrive even if you're not going to be your best. One thing that as an insomniac has been really challenging to me is, up until now, almost all of the body of work that I see out there on sleep is all about, oh, this will help you sleep, this will help you sleep, this will help you sleep. And there's almost nothing on, hey, if it still doesn't, then what do you do? And so I'm going to be working on that. So all of that stuff I will send out to you guys in some PDFs so you can dive into that, and would just love your feedback on all of it. But we only have a few minutes left, so I do want us to do just a little bit of work together. Before we do, quick question. Last week, when we did some breath work, right? We did a breathing practice. Can you guys remind me what it was we did?
It was
Thank you, Laura. Yes. Great. Wonderful. That's exactly what I thought. Okay, great. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just have us do a couple of stretches. So wherever you are, go ahead and just take one arm up and just stretch to a side. And then let's go ahead and stretch to the other side. And just start taking some smooth breath in and out through the nose as we do this. And then come on up. And we'll take an easy twist to one side. And come into the twist and allow your eyes to close. And then bring your attention to your breath in and out through your nose. And notice how the breath is a little uneven. See if you can begin to smooth the breath out. Open your eyes and then twist on the other side. Once again, close your eyes. I'd like you to just notice, with your eyes closed, if there's any stops or jumps or sticky spots on your breath. And then open your eyes and come to straight ahead. And then I'm going to ask you, wherever you are, to just kind of bend your body forward and allow your chest to hang on your legs, and just so your head won't get anywhere near the floor, just to almost give like a little anti-gravity on your neck for a moment. Close your eyes and let your head and neck just hang. Stay there for a few more breaths, but specifically try smoothing the breath. So if it's like, make sure the breath is smooth, and then slowly roll up. Great, and then we'll just do that 1 minute face massage. Start around your jaw. This is, for those of you who do grind your teeth at night, this is an absolute must. After you brush your teeth, at least once a day. For those of you who have it really badly, you should be giving yourself a face massage 3 times a day. Down here, maybe little piano fingers. And then maybe up here on the cheekbones. Let's do little circles back at the temples. And then back into piano fingers on the forehead. Okay, and then release. And then find a place to just sit quietly. If you want to lean up against your chair. I want to be able to really relax here for a few moments. But sitting up tall, once again, bring your attention with your eyes closed to your breath. Now, again, in a mindfulness practice, we don't change or alter the breath at all. We simply observe the breath as it is. But right now, I actually want you to change and alter the breath and to deliberately make the breath smooth. Notice now the velocity of your breathing, meaning sometimes, like at the beginning of a breath, there's a lot of air that goes out and then it sort of trickles. So you don't want to do that. See if you can smooth out the velocity of your breath. This is through your nose only. Smooth breath in, smooth breath out. Even begin to smooth out the transition from inhale to exhale, and the transition from exhale back to inhale. We've got about a minute of this to go. Really put your attention and skill on smoothing out the breath so much that if I were sitting next to you, I wouldn't know whether you were inhaling or exhaling or when that changed. Now continue to keep your eyes closed, but now let go of that. And just let your breath come back to its own steady rhythm. And if it becomes irregular for a few moments, if it feels jumpy for a few moments, just let it do that. Be aware of the breath finding its new pattern. And bring your attention to your nostrils, where the air is flowing in and out. Notice the gentle sensation of the air moving in and out of the nostrils. Bring your attention back to the breath moving in and out of the nostrils. And when you're ready, you can deepen your breath. And begin to come back. Do perhaps make a little notes of what we do here so that you can remember the ones you like. If the 4-part breath you loved, or you didn't like that one, but you loved the smooth breath, that will be the one that when you're feeling anxious, oh, I'll remember that smooth breath technique. I'm going to do that sometimes. So these are all just tools for you to take home and do as you please with them. I'm going to send you guys all of these slides from tonight and a little homework assignment. Thank you so much for jumping in, and I will see you next week. Same time, same channel. Have a great night. Thanks.
Thank you.